time, weather, and...
Now for the Forge Podcast. Question for you. What's the power of your testimony if it's never shared? This is the Forge Podcast.
A ministry of Scottsdale Bible Church.
I'll just let you take the wheel on that. What? Take us back to the beginning, and
absolutely.
Because I know addiction is tied in there.
Yes.
Right. Wanted to kind of lay our foundation of addiction and talk about booze and that journey, and then kind of transition into how they kind of worked together.
Yeah. So I'll for addiction, for me, it started, for the most part, my addiction was there. It was always there, but it wasn't causing major issues in my life, which doesn't excuse
do you have an addictive personality, like to other stuff?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. It's a great question.
Like what other stuff?
For when I was younger, it was soda. I would drink more soda than anybody in the house. Then it was candy, always candy. Now it's sparkling water. I always have a sparkling water in my hand. If I get locked in.
Do you ever ask yourself about that stuff? Have you ever gone into your own mind, like, okay, why do I need 10 bubblies? Like, right. Is there another element of us that we need to surrender to the Lord to break? Because, okay, maybe I'm not doing this damaging stuff of drinking 10 beers.
Yes.
But wait, I'm still.
Yes.
Have you asked yourself that? Because
I have asked myself that.
I'm like, why do I need 10 bubblies? Why do I need 4 cups of coffee? I love coffee.
Absolutely. Right. Because that's the number one thing that you replace the booze with when you start out is coffee, because it's at every recovery meeting. And then sparkling water is the other thing that most people drink. Other people do others. But yes, I do have that question, because out of all the people that I know, I'm the one that's got to eat 4 donuts, and I've got to, do this. And again, it's genetic. I recognize that that's just a behavioral trait of my dad's side of the family. But it is that part of where if I was approached to say, give up all your riches, well, wait a minute, there's that initial pullback of, hold on a second, I want to have my riches, because these are kind of hoarding mechanism right there, right? Because it's what I'm holding on to. But it's, why do I hold on to that, right? And so there is that question of that, what do I really need to get by, and what am I putting over other things in life, and especially what am I putting over the Lord and Jesus as I go through that? What am I idolizing in my life that I could get rid of? Right. And so there, yeah, absolutely. And I do have an addictive personality. I've always bought more clothes than I need, or played more video games than I should have.
I don't know if that's a problem.
Yeah. Oh no, it's yeah. You remember the old Blockbuster nights when you go to the game and then you play till 6 a.m. in the morning? Yeah. That was me. So
what was your favorite?
I always like racing games.
Yeah.
So I'm a Gran Turismo, Ridge Racer, Forza type of person.
Do you like the ATVs and the motorcycle?
Yeah. What was that? Oh, yes. ATV versus
I just pulled that out last week. I'm like, oh, let me give this a go. I've lost my touch. But.
Yeah. It once you get older, you're like, why am I doing this is great, and then this is all, and then you're like, man, I need a lot of practice in this. Yeah. I was never good at Call of Duty. I was never good at any of those. I got laughed off of the board one day and I just quit. Me too. Yeah. It was so bad. I took over my friend's controller and they just told me to basically leave. And so I did and never came back. So I've played a lot of fighting games.
My buddy will still play 18 hours a day.
Oh, that's
like,
great.
You got to be
I can't. I know I can't. It's good. Awesome. I'm glad some people out there can still go into that world and just play. It just, mentally, I can't do it. My mind breaks.
How do you give up that much of your life?
It's right. When there's so many days in our life and there's so many hours left,
and you're like,
you go, 18 hours. Yeah. If I play an hour, I honestly feel guilty.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've done it recently and just trying to clear my mind to work. And then I sit there and 45 minutes in, I'm like, I got stuff to do. I can't sit here and do this. There's another article I can read, or, just pick up a book. So I can't. I have that problem now. I can't watch movies. If I get an hour into a movie, I have to turn it off, get too bored. So brain broken that way. But there is that addictive personality that once I'm locked into something, I'm locked in. We talked about this recently, fishing. When I get into fishing, it's okay, now I got to get this lure and I got to get this lure. And then I'm watching YouTube videos and I go down the rabbit hole. And and then and in consumption too, it's like I used to eat as much as I possibly could, and now you kind of watch it. But I think we're all inherently addicted to the things that we like, but some obviously are more addicted than others. And if you put that piece of cheese in front of them, they're going to eat it and they're going to go just like the little mouse. And
sounds good.
Yeah. Right.
Hungry.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Right after this, we're going to go get some food.
Who was that? I don't know who I was talking to. I think it was Trace, but we got no. It was Matt Groby, and we are just talking about meatloaf, and both of us had been fasting randomly, and we're sitting here chatting, and we could start talking about meatloaf. I'm like, dude, now I'm starving.
Now I'm ready to go.
Let's go get some meatloaf. Like, what? Who craves meatloaf?
Oh yeah. Oh well. Hey, listen. There's nothing wrong with a good meatloaf.
I love meatloaf, but I mean, like, that's what we're craving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, dude. I derailed you
that's
with
okay.
Your grief talk. But
just
curious about.
Yeah. You recognize, once you recognize those things, and you recognize kind of exactly what this is a good tie into grief is, what am I doing to get rid of things that I don't want to feel, right? If I'm hungry, okay, great. If I have been fasting all day and I go eat, well, I'm fulfilling the need. Right. If I'm going in and I'm eating just 5 donuts just because I want to, what am I really masking? If I'm sitting there playing video games for 18 hours a day, I'm hiding something. If I'm sitting out there drinking, I'm hiding something. And what drinking can turn into from fun is to grief. And where that comes in is now I don't want to go through that pain. I don't want to go and face the reality of what I had been dealing with or what's on the top of my mind. And so that's where the drinking can start to hide it. That's where all sorts of behaviors can get to hiding grief, because we don't want to go through it.
Right.
So that's where it started to happen to me, is I was starting to drink to hide that pain, because that pain was ever present. And so that pain's related to 4 years ago tomorrow, my dad passed away from cancer. So that's where that grief is coming from.
4 years tomorrow.
4 years
Wow.
tomorrow. Yeah. So it's been a 4-year journey, the longest 4-year journey in my life. Probably the greatest trial and tribulation I've dealt with so far.
Yeah.
And so that is tied to all of this. It's tied to the Forge. It's tied to my addiction recovery. It's tied to coming back to the church and realizing that this is what I needed all along. Mm-hmm. So that's where that came in. And it was it was expected. It was a 13-year battle with cancer that we were dealing with, but it was unexpected in the sense that 6 months prior, in the January, he was reffing soccer. And then in July, he passed away. So it was a very sudden change for my mom and myself, right? And I would like to have said...
You said 13-year battle?
Yeah. He was diagnosed...
So had that, with 13 years, had it lessened, like the expectation of death, had it lessened in your mind over 13 years? Like, you'd have some trials and some setbacks, and you'd go in it. But 13 years is a good chunk that's a decade plus, where he's still there after the diagnosis. And so in your mind, I mean, he's reffing soccer, and then all of a sudden gone. Right. Had it or no? Does it stay with you the whole time?
It stays in the back of your mind.
Back of your mind, okay.
Yeah. And initially, in his case, which everyone's different, but in his case, it was one symptom that they took away, and it was gone. So the cancer was in a localized area. They had resolved it with radiation, and now we're going to move on, and chemotherapy. Now let's fast forward 5 years. So he was in remission for 5 years, and then it came back into another localized area. Okay. They're resolving it with the chemo and another round of radiation. Okay, now this is the second round. When it comes back twice, now it's a little bit more of an issue, or it's more knowledgeable. So that both of those were non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And so once that comes back twice, now we're at a higher rate of it coming back for a third time. Okay. Then, as I think it was 3 years, then it was another round of cancer, a different type of cancer that they resolved through surgery. And so now we're starting to go, okay, now within the last 10 years, you've had 3 rounds of cancer. And there was always the question, if the cancer went to the brain, That's where we knew the odds were not good.
Right.
And that's what happened about a year later from that. So at first you're going, okay, and Dad's back and he's strong and he's moving along. But now as you're starting to get more and more rounds of it, you're having more serious conversations. It's not going away. Now you're starting to anticipate. So in the last 2 years prior to that, we had already known before, right? And he had a stem cell transplant 2 years prior, right before COVID hit. He had a stem cell transplant. So we were wearing masks and gloves around the house to protect him.
Right.
Probably 4 months before COVID happened. So when he's in a hospital for 3 straight weeks and he never went to the hospital my entire life, okay, and we're starting to notice those changes. Now we're starting to notice some things. And that's when you start to expect it. So it was anticipation, but still, Dad always recovered. Dad always was good to go. He would have his round. He would get over it, and he'd be back at it. It wasn't until the last 6 months.
And he's your dad,
yeah,
right?
He's a superhero, right?
Yeah.
You know, he's the, you know, and especially my dad, who was, you know, a strong personality and ref soccer for 20 years and was an athlete his whole life and, you know, was not a person that you would expect and was strong, you know. So it wasn't a person that you'd expect to have issues. So that, as they say, you can, even if you're anticipating it, it's still like getting hit with a sledgehammer in the chest the day it happens. But you start to do the math, right? And so I don't think it lessened anything for me, but it definitely was something that we knew was around the corner, right? You know, when we came to church or we were saying prayers or communicating with each other, there was always that in the back of your mind that this could be it, right? You know, and what. But
nothing prepares you for the moment when you realize I'm never going to get to talk to them or say anything or see them again.
Correct.
That moment or that little space of time.
Yes.
Something hits you different,
yeah, exactly.
Whether you knew it was coming or not.
Very much. Very much. Intellectually, you'll know, okay, we're in a hospice in our case, right? And we're sitting here and we're anticipating this. They've already told us what's going on. And then it hit and it was like getting, you know, hit by a hurricane right then in that moment, you know, and it just, nothing could have prepared me for that, right? Because, you know, in my case, I have a half brother, but for the most part, I was raised with my mom and dad. So it was always us three at church, us three at breakfast, us three at family dinner. So when you realize it, you realize it. I mean, even in that anticipation, there's no way to get around it. And that's where you start to realize this is a trial. And this is something, as I felt when I walked out of that room, I knew when I walked out of the room, that was the last time I was going to see Dad as Dad, right? You know, we can talk about what may happen in the future when we go to heaven, but for the most part, that was the last time that I would see him, hold his hand, all those things. And so that's a challenge. I mean, it was a challenge at that point. You know, I sat there for an hour before I even left that room, just because I knew that this is it. When I walk out of this room, I'm going on a journey that doesn't end for the rest of my life. It starts now, and it's a hard journey to face with strength, right? You know, I wish I would have, and you wish, but you know, relying on God was the thing that I needed to do, but it's not the thing that I immediately went to.
Sure.
I didn't put on the armor of God. You know, I went through that battle and kind of white-knuckled it for a long time. So
what you brought that up earlier. What do you mean you white-knuckled grief?
Oh, great. So in hindsight and knowing what I did, the first year and a half, I didn't see a counselor. I didn't go to a therapist. I didn't go to a local group like Grief Share that they do at the church here, which is another national organization. I didn't really reach out to anybody about my grief. Now, part of that was due to a job where I traveled weekly. Yep. So most of my grief was done in hotel rooms by myself late at night while working.
Yeah.
And so for the most part, I didn't reach out to other people. I just went through it, read what I could on the internet, read a book here or there, and just kind of kept going along. I didn't reach out to any pastors, even though I did have access. But I didn't use resources or tools or other people to get through it. I just went through it on my own. So when we're saying the white knuckle, it's just,
but you started by saying in hindsight, and that's because in the middle of it, you think you can you're just going to deal with it, right? It's your issue. It's your grief.
Yes.
And let me just live through this. Like there's not a script for this. Is that right?
Correct.
But nobody knows. In hindsight, you're like, man, I would have been better served if I reached out to A, B, C, or D.
Yes.
But again,
hindsight's 20/20.
And I mean, that's kind of our, especially as men, our striving mentality.
Absolutely.
I will get through this. This is hard. I will get through this one thing, and I can do this on my own. You said I should have turned to the Lord, but in our fallen, sinful nature, we still think, well, I can get through this. The Lord's there for something else. I can get through this, and then maybe later I'll turn to the Lord. But and the Lord lets us. He lets us try to figure out life on our own before we say, yeah, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, is that part of with the grief? Like, I can get through this. Yes. I can do this.
Especially when you lose a dad, because then now your identity is, I'm no longer you are, but you're no longer, you feel like you're no longer a son. You feel like now I'm a man. Now I've crossed that threshold where now I'm no longer a son, even though we are. And that's part of what I mean by I should have reached out. I should have, in ways, turned towards the Lord because I'm an eternal son, right? But there's a lot of speak around that is that you are always God's son, even though your father may not be here. And I'll always be my dad's son, right? But that part of it where it is going, okay, now I have to be a man, right? Now I'm facing this crisis, and it happens at any age, as I've learned, it happens at any age for any man when they lose their father, is they have to now go, okay, now it's just me here, right? And so you do want to be stoic and you do want to be strong, and that's our nature to do that. It's not our nature to be vulnerable. What I think I've realized, especially with, and I would give the shout out to the grief share portion of it, because what it did was it put me in a room with people that are experiencing similar things. And then when you realize, and I didn't do that till 3 years into this, 3.5-ish years into this, I went to Grief Share. And the reason that helped so much was not only the program, but really sitting in that room and going, now I have other people that are here, right? I'm not alone in this. I may be alone in my unique circumstance or the unique situation that we went through, but there are other people that are hurting as well.
Right.
And you can reach out to these people and they're going to reach out to you on that basis. And shout out to you at the Forge, the table at the Forge, right? I have other men that they may not have that same experience, but they're going to sit there and they're going to be with me in my grief to help me go along and realize that there's another path out of it. And so I think we naturally go, oh, I got to face this on my own, and I don't have to face this with other resources there. But whether it's, God, it's other men, it's a group like Grief Share that's specifically dedicated to it.
Right.
Those resources are there to help you get over the initial shock of it and get over, not that you ever get over, that's kind of bad phrasing, but it's that you can find tools to continue on in life. And that's where,
so that you don't get stuck at that initial, you're not stuck there.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
That can happen. And that does happen.
Yes. And you get absolutely solidified. You get stuck. You're in
my mom and dad. My dad was a bomber pilot in Vietnam. Still has a one of his buddies is, I think, still a prisoner of war. Maybe not. I'm sure he's died a long time ago. His spouse has never gotten over it. She still flies the flag, and still believes he's coming home. Her entire life has been stopped at that moment that she lost him, and she's never moved on to this day.
It can become an identity. It can absolutely become, and she has every right to grieve, and
100%.
It's 100% her grief. It just, what can happen is you can get locked, and it can feel like your feet are in cement, And you may go through the motions, but you just get stuck. And then you start to say, well, this is my identity because this happened.
Right.
And that happened to me for a good 6 months, is that was the defining factor of me as a person. And so now my identity, when we talk about idolization, now my identity or self-identity, it's me idolizing the fact that I'm in grief, or that I lost someone to cancer, or I lost my dad. And I can use that as a track to say, okay, this is my identity now. And then you just stuck in that cycle because it's disorienting. It can cause you just to lose your North Star.
Right.
And that's part of what the church gives you out of it, is the church gives you a community to reach out to, in a community to say, okay, this community is giving me purpose in it. And now I can take that grief, because grief is just love that's now it's sorrow or misplaced.
Yeah.
And it shows how much you love the person. But now I can give that to someone else. And there's things that happen at church, things that happen in my community, where I start to recognize that grief is just teaching me lessons to then help other people who go through it, because we all go through it.
Right.
It's one of the most universal things that we all face, right? But yes, you can absolutely get stuck in it. And you can say that grief will be your identifying factor forever. And it's unfortunate, but that is something that we work on as a group in that program, is just to say, okay. And there's waves of it. I do want to.
You mentioned it's the through line for this podcast, and I think it's a through line for Forge. And it sounds like it's a through line for, I think, life. You said you're not alone. Right, you're talking about grief and grief share, and I say that every single week on this podcast, that the Forge, this is the Forge podcast, so the Forge exists to let other men know that they're not alone. But even in your grief share, like, what was that like to realize, oh my gosh, I'm not alone in this? Because that's powerful, right?
Yes,
that is what we as parents, as a parent myself, like, to know that, oh my gosh, other people are doing, your kids do this too,
right.
Or this, like, oh wait, marriage is like this, like wives do this, husband, like whatever it is, to know that you're not alone can be some of the most freeing information ever.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I want to go, I want to talk about that. What did that mean for you when you realized, oh my gosh, I'm not alone in this grief?
Absolutely. It means a couple of things that I struggled with when as I said, white-knuckled, when I went by myself on this. Yeah. And what I realized, because 3 years in, now life has changed a little bit, but even 3 years in, which I was probably one of the ones that it had been the longest since. So the first thing that you realize is my anger about the situation, and my anger, especially the anger that I felt towards God, is misplaced in a way, because I have other people who have dealt with similar situations that are going through it together. And the beauty of God's love, I think, in that realizing it, is that these other people are going through it and we can go through it together. Because if we embrace God's love as a group, we can then say, I'm going to love on this person and I'm going to go through this with them together. And I can use myself and my experience to show them that there's another way, or comfort somebody who had just happened a month prior when it's been 3 months prior. So that realization, that a couple things in there: one, that we can love on people, and two, that everybody's going through this in some way, shape, or form or another. I'm not special. I'm not isolated.
Yes, you are, GW.
Yeah, well, thank you. I feel good in my shirt. But, yeah.
Are you kidding me, bro? That thing sings.
Thanks. It sings of joy.
That's right.
But then the other thing I realized is that people want to be there for you. And one of the first, I go to a smaller church to join my recovery brothers over there to celebrate there, and that's how it started. And one of the first times I walked into that church was it was 3 years. So it was last year, it was 3 years. Okay. And I said that to one person there, and she's become a really good friend. And she prayed over me. That's okay. She prayed over me. And she took me into the room and prayed over me, and we've become friends ever since. And she took that time to care for me. And it led to something that happened to me at the Forge that was the combination of all this, the love, the togetherness, and the ability to care and reach out to somebody who's grieving. And, you know, as we were going to the Forge, when we did my dad's memorial service here, Jason Belcher, who's the pastor of the Forge, he was the backup to Ryan Goebel. And so at that time, when I gave my dad's eulogy, Jason got to see that live. So the first week I went to the Forge, I saw Jason, and he goes, "I know you." And I didn't know where he knew me from.
Yeah.
And then we put two and two together, and it was from that memorial service. Well, fast forward a few months later, and Jason was going through the same thing. And Jason was going through the loss of his father. And this is the beauty of the Lord, I think, in a lot of ways. And a lot of those things that I learned in that grief share that time is when I heard him say that, I was sitting right in front of him because I'm that front seat. And I was sitting right in front of him, and he started to share that to the group. And then he went over, and he was getting ready to leave, and he stood by the stairs, and we do our small group time at that time. And there was a calling on me. Now, to put this in perspective, I never prayed on people.
Yeah.
That was not part of my nature at this time. I had never really prayed on somebody. And here I am trying to go pray over a pastor. But out of nowhere came a voice, a calling. You need to go pray on him. Because we had had that conversation 3 months, maybe 6 months prior. I can't remember exactly. And I saw him by the stairs, like, no, I'm going to go back to the small group. And then something inside of me just said, he got caught before he walked out. And I ran over to him and said, "Let me pray on you, Jason." And I got a chance to pray for him. And that wasn't to pat myself on the back.
Right.
That was God telling me, here's something you need to go do. And you need to do it for me. And me to just have the open heart to listen. And it was just a beautiful moment to where here we are full circle in a way of here's somebody who was there at my dad's memorial service while I'm going through the worst pain of my life and getting to go minister to him for a second. And he usually ministers to me and he pastors to me, but that's that love, that's that togetherness, that's the things that we need to do to care on each other when somebody's in grief. And just the ability to go say, "I got you, man. Let's just pray on this, and let's pray for your father, for strength, for all those things." That's the part of what's shown me in grief share, but shown me in that moment that life can continue on in grief. And I'll give a shout out to Ryan Goebel here because he was the one that did my dad's memorial service, and he pastored to me in here. And he said, "You're going to become the man that your dad knew you would become and that God knew you'd become." And he said it that day that we did the memorial service. And every time I see him nowadays, every day he says that, and he reminds me that he's right. It was very true.
Yeah.
At first, grief was this thing in the center of my chest that was a big old black hole. And then slowly you start to build a life, like a jar around it, that starts to, the grief doesn't go away, but that jar starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's things like that that show me that grief can have a lot of beauty and a lot of strength in it, even though it may not feel that way when it first happens.
If this is a dumb question, forgive me.
No, go ahead.
But it's something I don't know. I want to ask. I want to hear if you have an answer to it. What was this grief that so took you over for that what were you grieving? What was it like? Outside of the obvious, you lost your dad.
Yes.
But walk me through the grief. What were you grieving, and what gripped you so hard that it took over?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I'm not lessening your grief.
No.
I'm just trying to understand, what were you grieving? What can you identify that? Have you been able to, or is it just the loss of somebody so close to you that you're sad?
Yes. It lost time, lost presence, lost future. When you get into the practicality of it, one of the things that I've talked about with a lot of people that are older than me, the ability to call my dad and just say, "Hey," he used to always be like, "Hey, stranger." And he always used to call me champ. Mm-hmm. So to know that I'll never hear those things again, to know that we'll never be able to go on a car ride or laugh together, to know that there wasn't more time as I start to grow. There's been things in the last 4 years that the first thing I think about is, man, I wish I could call my dad.
Sure.
And so those are the things that you grieve, the loss.
Okay.
The other side of it is the cancer and the way that he went, and the side of it where it was not pretty at the end. It was a hard deal to see what he went through. And this is a person I love dearly. And just to see, you know, next to mom that you described earlier, where I'm so close to, I was as close to dad as mom.
Yeah.
And just to see the pain that he went through and the torture that it was at the end for him was crushing. It was soul crushing in a way, because if I love this person so much, it's very hard to see that. And it played in my mind every night that I went to bed, and every time I took a nap for about 18 months, I could see that and be in that room with him.
Yeah.
And it just wouldn't go away. So a lot of it was the end and how it ended. A lot of it was the impact that he had. He was a soccer referee, had a ton of friends in that. He coached people at work. You know, he had a long and good life, but it wasn't, in a way, not enough. My grandma, his mom, outlived him by almost 4 years. So it was just a lot of that grief that was associated with it in there, and just the lost time, the pain, and everything that goes with it. So I think it feels in a lot of ways like it did at the time that God turned his back on him, and that was another part of it. You know, here's a guy who grew up in the church his whole life. He was Christian his whole life, and he it felt like he was punished in a way, even though I don't think that today. But at the time, that's what I was dealing with at that moment. Yeah.
So what, tomorrow being the 4-year anniversary, how will you go about your day tomorrow?
Well, it's a great question. I get the joy of taking my mom to eye surgery, so that'll be fun. But so I won't have much time to think about anything. But, you know, you get up today, going through the journey I've been on through addiction, through what I've learned in the last year and a half almost, is prayer, and just to take extra time to pray in the morning. Yeah. Take some time to have some quiet time just to think about the good times that we did have, and the joy that we got to feel, and the experience, you know, the almost 39 years of life that we got to live together. Right. 37, sorry. But, you know, and I think a lot of it will be in the Bible. I think there's a lot of things that I've read in grief that I'll read tomorrow. James 1:2, count it all joy, all the various trials that you face, because that part has come to define me. That's a life verse now. And so I think I'll just reflect on that. I'll probably listen to some music that he like country music. He's a big country guy, you know, and I might go take a drive at the end of the day just to kind of think about, because if I drive around Scottsdale, there's places that we were at many times. I might go walk to Chaparral Park, because that's where he ref soccer for years and where I grew up playing soccer. So it'd just be things to remember him by. Yeah. You know, and there will be sad moments. There still is, you know, it's still kind of new, you know, but that's what I'll usually do on that day. Now, usually I'm focused in on work and things like that as a distraction, which is a thing that we always did, and I did really well. Yeah. But those would be the ways that I remember it here. I will say 4 years in, because of the journey I've been on through recovery, because of how much I've gotten involved in churches and different meetings and the Forge and everything, those will be things that give me a new way to handle it. The first 3 years, it was kind of do whatever. Now, those are things that I wouldn't have done last year that I'm doing this year. Right. And there's new tools, and there's a new hope in my life. So.
Last question.
Yes.
This is the Forge podcast. What has the Forge meant to you?
Oh, great question. That the Forge has meant a lot to me. I came in, as you said, a week after deciding to get sober. Yeah. I came in not knowing a soul, not ever being involved in this church. Growing up in this church, I never, outside of when I was a little kid, I had never gone to any of the groups. And I knew that I needed something to keep me going, and I needed a group to hopefully keep me in the Word, keep me accountable. And so the Forge has been that. It's given me a group of men that will not only keep me accountable, but will lift me up on the times that I feel down. The message that you guys sent to me on my year of sobriety is something that extremely special to me. It meant a lot to me. And I wouldn't have had that had I not walked into that forge. I would have been by myself in Alabama and nobody would have texted me except you guys. It meant a lot. It meant that I'm walking through life with men as we go through different challenges. And we've been through some challenges as a group, and we've been through some celebrations as a group. So the forge has given me that aspect, because I do believe that we as men are called to do the Christian walk together. And we're designed to really bounce off of one another. And it's given me a friendship with you and Chris and Jeff and people that I really do use, not use, I should say, count on a daily basis. I don't use you guys. You guys are there.
Feel so used.
Yeah, you guys. I use you so much. I'm always calling you and asking for tools. So it's really given me a purpose on Tuesdays to know that no matter what's going on, and if I'm in town, I can show up, I can talk to everyone, I can get to know everyone, and really, when there's things that we need to counsel on, we can counsel on that. So what started out as an idea has become something that I count on every week, and has really, in times, supported me massively and allowed me to support others in ways that I don't even realize. One of the things that was said to me that when we talked about pacemakers or pace setters, pace setters.
It's a different podcast.
It's a different podcast. It's
2 doors down.
Yeah. It's once you drink too much coffee. The pace setters, and then to have Jeff in the group tell me I'm a pace setter.
Yeah.
And that was amazing, right? That I didn't even think of myself that way.
Right.
And so it's that self-reflection as well, to have somebody like Rob prayed when it was one of the small groups this summer, prayed us out. I never prayed anyone out. Prayed us out, and he's like, man, you're so charged up. Just to have that, wow, this is, and have that self-reflection. I mean, it's just been great. So I think the forge has been a life-changing thing for me. It's kept me on my toes in the sense that I don't want to fall back into my old ways, because this is the community I built. Every time I think about falling back into addiction or falling back into grief, I go, you know what? If I do that, I give up this. Not that you guys wouldn't support me, but this is the life I built. This is the life God gave me out of it. And it all started with the Forge table. Yeah.
Doing a new Forge promo video, and the theme of it is that community of men. Yes. I'm doing a small little series on the wives of Forge. I just found three women whose husbands have been going to Forge, and just to hear them say, that he's become a better leader at home. He goes to Tuesday night. He comes home filled. He needs men to walk through life with. And I mean, you're echoing that. You're saying the exact same thing. I realize that too. Like, God designed us to walk together through life, and then to encourage. Like, you just gave 2 or 3 examples of guys that have come along and said, "Hey, I see this in you. Thank you for doing that." You're like, that feels good.
Absolutely.
And that's how God, your men are looking at you and saying, I see how God designed you, and I'm telling you, you're walking it out, you're doing it. That's encouraging to hear that from another man, to say, hey, great job. I'm encouraged. That's affected me. So thank you. Yeah. And you get that on Tuesday.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things I would say about that community of men, this one thing I forgot to say, is that I've come to this church for 33 years, and for a long time, except when I was a child, but for a long time as an adult, it was come to church for an hour, leave, go home, do Sunday.
Yeah.
For a long time. Only in the last year, getting on 2 years, but only in the last year and a half that I've done the Forge, can I come here on a Sunday morning at 9:00, and I will run into, it just happened this past Sunday, which is why we're sitting here, but I will run into 10 people from the table or the Forge or whatever the case may be. And so, like you said, it's a community of men. I can't come here at the 9:00 service and get out before 11:15 because I'm sitting there having conversations. And that, to me, has been the biggest blessing for me, because it's shown me that there are people that care, there are people that want to be there and walk with you, and there are people that are going to, like you said, reflect back what you're doing to show that you're doing things the way that God intended. And it's a beauty, and it keeps honest.
I was talking with Trace about that in a church that's 10,000 people deep, the fastest way to shrink it down is to get in and serve, or to get in and be a part of the Forge, because now you're 15 guys at your table. You're seeing them every Sunday. Like go in and serve at Sunday school. Go in and do grief share. Go in and be a part of something. All of a sudden, the church just shrinks.
Absolutely.
Now you've got your community of 30 people that you're constantly running to. Man, does it feel cool?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's an amazing feeling.
It is.
Yeah, it feels like we're really a part of a community.
Instead of feeling lost in such a large crowd, get in there.
Yes.
Go be a part of it. Go serve. Go be a part. Make yourself known and serving, and then watch the church just open up and blossom. And it's like, wow, what a small church this is.
Oh yeah,
right?
It's part of the 12-step of recovery. It's part of just generally being involved in the church that I never added to my life. But the service that I've done in the last year has made me so connected to the church, and it's given me a chance to really build the community that was always intended for it to be, for the chance to build it up, for the chance to get good reflection, and really just praise God for those things, because they are a blessing that happen as you get in and serve. So that's the encouragement that I'd have for anybody that's on the outside or not heavily involved, is get in, serve, even if it's lifting chairs, just get in there, and you'll get to know somebody at some point that will start to build a relationship with, and it will make a drastic change in your life as it has mine.
And it happens quicker than anywhere else, because we have Jesus as the common denominator.
Yes,
that unites people so much faster than I don't know. I can't come up with an example, but because it's such a uniter.
Yeah,
we have Jesus in common, and you know that going in.
Yeah, absolutely. He's the greatest North Star, right?
Yeah.
If we just, follow his lead and mimic it and put him at the center of our heart, as we do that, it builds relationships that are solidified.
Yeah.
Some of these relationships are solid, right? There was the relationships that I had prior to getting involved in the community that really did things, but they didn't give me the strength and the power that this does, because at the center of it all is Jesus.
Right.
And he gave us that roadmap to follow, and how to love on one another, and how to really support one another. And as we do it, I mean, it's an amazing thing to, when you turn yourself over to him, what the blessings that'll give. At this point, I have more people on my phone that I can call and just talk about Jesus than I've ever had. I go to more church than I ever had, and it's all due to God. Nothing to do with me. He put me in the room with them, and then I was just able to make it happen.
Well, JW, I got to stop us, because we'll just talk all night and then be like, wait, bro, I'm late for work. Thanks for stopping by, man.
Absolutely.
This is always fun to just chat with you. You've always got a great smile and something fun to listen to. So thanks for sharing on both subjects.
Yeah,
so.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for letting me share, and it was a pleasure. So.
See you Tuesday.
Absolutely. See you Tuesday.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you for listening to the Forge Podcast.